next subject that we're going to talk about is how to get down into certain positions with only one arm. Meaning, in the event that it was either otherwise occupied and or you're shot, injured, doesn't really matter, how do we get up and down with just one arm, and how do we still perform? So let's talk about a couple things before we get into how do I get down with one hand. If I am right eye dominant, I predominantly roll to my right side. If I am left eye dominant, left-handed, I would roll to my left side. We roll generally to the eye dominant side. Now, with that in mind, if you are right-handed but left eye dominant, I highly recommend you go to the left as well, especially when we find ourselves in a position where we start to do more of a rollover straight prone like this. The arm typically is blocking the face and jawline from turning, allowing this left eye to get into the proper position, when if you just keep the gun in your right hand, roll to the left, it's real easy, very seamless. So with that said, and the reason why I bring it up is because this is going to affect all of us at one point or another. Right now, what I'm going to demonstrate is how do we get down going, in this case, weapon hand, right eye dominant to my right hand side. So that's what I'm going to show you next. Gun comes out of the holster. You can come down on one knee, forearm and grip is what's going to make contact to the ground, or to lower yourself just a little bit more. Some people feel more comfortable with this. You would just come in on both knees and then do the same thing. For me, I'm just kind of used to being high knee up. So I'm going to plant forearm and then I'm going to kick out. Technically, I'm doing this one-handed push-up, but I'm going to allow the body to hit the ground. That way I can get into a more stable shooting position. Now, depending upon where on the person you're shooting, how far away, a lot of factors remain here. I may have to hold the gun up when I do an engagement. I can roll over just a little bit, trying to maximize that forearm. Or if you're able to, I would just ground the gun and put it down on the ground. That's easy to say when I'm running a full-size 45 because the grip is a lot bigger. When we get into subcompacts, you're probably having to hold and manage this gun. So from here, I can see my sights. Everything's very clear, good, stable shooting position. Getting back up, forearm comes in. I like to get immediately right back to a knee because remember, though the prone position can help us in regards to stability, we've already been shot once. If you do make the determination to get down on the ground, get down, do what you need to do, and then immediately get back up, because we know bullets can ricochet off other things. So nevertheless, get down, but immediately get back up. You'll start seeing that the use of the forearm, the grip, all these little things are very simple in order to get into a good shooting position. Next, what we'll break down is, what do I do as a right eye dominant guy now going to my left because I have to deal with my reaction hand? Couple things that we need to consider here. Do we do a reaction hand draw after I've been shot, leg pinch this, grip the gun, and now get down? We could. That is an option. We could do a chest roll and then I could get down on the ground. There's a lot of different things that I could do. If I know I'm already going down to the ground, my opinion is I'll just deal with the gun at the ground. Instead of standing here, since I've already gotten shot once, I don't want to take the time to still be presenting a bigger target. And if I've made the decision that prone's better for me, then just get down on the ground and go prone, which means I'm going to reverse grip this and just go straight down to the ground. When doing this, I'm going to kick this leg out, forearms here. Once I get to the ground, I'm just going to roll the gun, not this way. I'm going to roll it in the favor of the grip again. And then, of course, we talked about trigger finger, index, and the top of the slide. Now, what happens here, you're going to, as a righty, I'm trying to get it over to my right eye. And that's going to be the issue here. All of a sudden, you're going to find your rotator cuff and everything's going to lock up, but I really need the gun right here. So what I'm going to recommend is cut yourself a little bit of slack, release that rotator cuff, and then it's real easy to bring the gun all the way over to my dominant eye so I can see that way. Could you close an eye? Well, I don't close any of my eyes. You could, but I still want to shoot with both eyes open because it helps me take in a lot of information. So for me, once I get into this position, if I need to, bring the gun back and then plant that gun, engage, bring the gun back in, get up to a good kneeling position, and then I'm done. Knowing what I know and knowing that we have this little bit of an issue of getting the gun over to my dominant eye, what I try to do is I try to facilitate it all at once. I come out, gun gets planted here, I'm moving, I'll slack the rotator cuff and then just move it over. That way I don't have to break it down into 2 separate steps. And then you'll start figuring out, everybody's gonna be different, how do I get up in and or around the gun? Worst case, I don't recommend it. I always like having the gun in my hand. You could, worst case, put the gun down, get up to a good stable kneeling position, and then regrip the gun. You could do that. I don't recommend doing that because I hate my gun leaving my hand because I worry, what if I get impacted again and then I just take off running? I'd much rather be still holding on to my gun than make a determination of do I go down and get it again. So nevertheless, those are options that you need to consider.